motives or partake of the nature of the psychic or follow its aims, but with a modification in the manner which belongs to the mind, vital or physical. The psychic vital seeks after the divine. Khasi ki goli liyan. The psychic vital seeks after the divine, but it has a demand in its self-giving, desire, vital eagerness. The psychic has not. For the psychic has instead, sorry, for the psychic has instead pure self-giving, aspiration, intensity of psychic fire. The psychic vital is subject to pain and suffering, which there is not in the psychic. Atma is not the same as psychic. Atma is the self, which is one in all. Calm, wide, ever at peace, always free. The psychic being is the soul within that experiences life and develops with evolving mind and life and body. The psychic does not suffer like the vital or body. It has not pain or anguish or despair, but it has a psychic sorrow which is different from these things. It has a kind of quiet, sweet sadness of yearning, which it feels when things go against the divine, when the obscurity and obstacles are too heavy, when the mind, vital and physical, follow after other things, when evil and falsehood and darkness seem to be too strong for the light. It does not despair, but feels that these things ought not to be, and the psychic yearning for it to be otherwise becomes so intense that it is felt as if something akin to sadness. As for the psychic not being in front, that cannot be brought about all at once. The other parts of the being must be prepared for the change, and the veil between must become thinner and thinner. It is for that experiences come, and there is the working on the inner mind and vital and physical, as well as the outer nature.
Next wala bhi.
What do you mean by a personal vital? What people call personality is a formation. There is no unchangeable vital personality. There is a presence called the Purusha, something projected by the self or Atman, which supports on each plane the formation of the personalities on that plane. But the Purusha is not a personality, and it has no name or form. But it is best for you not to speculate too much about these subtle things at present. You have not sufficient experience to grasp correctly the complexity of the truth. The one thing you are concerned with is that you have a soul, a psychic being, which stands for your center of existence, a part of the divine. Become aware of that and put all your mental, vital, and physical nature in relation to it in order that they may become purified, harmonized, divinized, and the supramental being and nature may descend and be manifested in you. For until this is done, this conscious linking and relation with the psychic center, there can be no supramental descent. So clear.
Yeah. Last time मैंने कहा था Sri Aurobindo is synonymous with clarity. I should have used the adjective which mother uses in the agenda somewhere. Crystal clarity.
Crystal clarity.
Yeah, so
It really is crystal clarity.
yeah. So we are beginning recording. I had started a little late when Anjali ji had already read a few sentences, but and for the purpose of the recording, we had started reading from this one line excerpt from the letter. The psychic is the soul in evolution. The Atman is the self above the evolution. Here, he is just using the word Atman. He is not prefixed Jiva before it. Maybe that's because of the question. Otherwise, basically, he has been dealing with the individual self, whether the Jivatman or the psychic being, right? This is something we are all quite familiar with by now. Hmm. Next, there is always a part of the mind, of the vital, of the body, which is or can be influenced by the psychic. Always. There is always a part of the mind. मतलब कितनी भी उसके अंदर इम्प्योरिटी हो, उसके अंदर कोई ना कोई अंश हमेशा ऐसा रहता है, कोई भाग हमेशा ऐसा रहता है जो साइकिक के प्रभाव में आ सकता है. दिस इज द सेविंग ग्रेस इन द ह्यूमन नेचर, राइट? दे कैन बी कॉल्ड द psychic mental, the psychic vital, the psychic physical. ठीक है? Now, just to relate, सत्यम शिवम सुंदरम. बार बार श्री अरबिंदो ने भी इसको लिखा है. आई डोंट थिंक ही हैज रिटन इट इन संस्कृत. ही यूजेस द इंग्लिश वर्ड्स, द ट्रू, द गुड, द ब्यूटीफुल. ठीक है? पर जब हम उसको मेंटल, वाइटल, फिजिकल में अगर मैप करें ऐसे, सो द ट्रूथ पार्ट मैप्स टू द मेंटल पार्ट, the goodness part maps to the psychic part, and the beauty part maps to the physical part. Not exclusively, but in general, we can say like this, right? So there can be called the psychic mental, meaning that part of our mind which is open to truth. Okay? We have to, I mean, forced by the ordinariness of the world, the crudity, etc., etc., हमारे अंदर सत्य के प्रति जो प्रेम है, आइडियलिज्म के प्रति जो प्रेम है, ठीक है, उसको we have to fight to keep it alive and not allow it to get suppressed by anything whatsoever. I mean, this is what I understand practically, right? And the psychic is always there supporting from behind, and there is a part in our mind which is already open to truth. We have to open it more and more to truth so that we basically become blazing fires of truth. Okay? They can be called the psychic mental, the psychic vital, all that in us that is open to goodness, generosity, udarta, being good, basically simply being good. We know what is good and what is bad, वो सेंस है. There is nobody who does not recognize. वो अंदर से पता चलता है कि ये ठीक था, ये ठीक नहीं था, right? And the psychic physical beauty, the having that sense of beauty, sensitivity towards beauty. Last time के session में I had not quoted the mother because I did not remember the words verbatim, but I had referred to her saying that one of the reasons for India's decline in the last, I had said 1,000 years last time, but basically you could say since the last 2,000 years, when the ascetic phase of the spiritual life of India reached its acme in Buddha and Shankara, that way, इंडिया का जो डिक्लाइन हुआ बिकॉज ऑफ दीज इन्फ्लुएंसेस एंड ऑल, द लैक ऑफ सेंसिटिविटी टुवर्ड्स ब्यूटी इन द फिजिकल लेवल, ये एक बहुत बड़ा कारण है. योगेश भाई ने एक्चुअली ही हैड टॉक्ड अबाउट प्लेसेस लाइक वृंदावन एंड अदर रिलीजियस प्लेसेस वेयर यू नो, ठीक है, बहुत इफ यू आर थिंकिंग इनवर्डली एंड थिंकिंग ऑफ द डिवाइन एंड कृष्णा, देन एवरीथिंग इज ब्यूटिफुल. बट अब अगर आप आउटर देखें तो यू नो कितनी गंदगी वहां पे होती है, टेम्पल्स के अंदर प्रसाद भी ऐसे पैरों में आ रहा है, ऑल दैट सॉर्ट ऑफ थिंग. सो इट्स एसेंशियली जो वो ब्यूटी का सेंस है उसका दब जाने की वजह से है. एंड मदर का बहुत, इट्स नॉट एन ऑर्डिनरी पॉइंट विच मदर इज मेकिंग, इट्स अ वेरी बिग इंट्यूशन कि वन ऑफ द रीजंस फॉर द डाउनफॉल ऑफ इंडिया इज द लैक ऑफ सेंसिटिविटी टुवर्ड्स ब्यूटी इन फिजिकल थिंग्स. वी हैव बिकम, मतलब हमें फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. वी हैव काइंड ऑफ रीच दैट पॉइंट वेयर इट डजंट मैटर टू अस. सो दैट्स अ वेरी सैड थिंग एंड दैट नीड्स टू बी रिवर्स्ड more and more, right? So इसके लिए इतना, according to the personality or the degree of evolution of each person, this part can be small or large, weak or strong, covered up and inactive, or prominent and in action. So वही the degree of evolution of each person. ठीक है, this is something we cannot cheat. हम कितना भी प्रिटेंड कर लें, जो जिस लेवल का है वो उस लेवल का है, जिसका जितना जेन्युइन, ट्रूली जिसका एवोल्यूशन जितना हो चुका है, उस मेच्योरिटी कितनी आ गई है उसके साइकिक बीइंग के अंदर, हाउ स्ट्रांग इट हैज बिकम, दैट इज नॉट समथिंग वी कैन आइदर फेक और प्रिटेंड, एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा. एंड दिस इज व्हाट इज द ट्रू मेजर ऑफ अ पर्सन, not necessarily his external greatness or achievement. This also we should I mean, understand, you know. Yeah. When it acts, the movements of the mind, it acts माने psychic. The movements of the mind, vital or physical, except the psychic motives or aims. इससे मतलब है the part of the mind or vital which is open to the psychic. Except the psychic motives or aims, partake of the nature of the psychic, which is always open to the good, the true, the beautiful, all that is divine, all that. The psychic is constantly open. It's naturally open, spontaneously open, right? Yeah. So when it acts, the movements of the mind, vital or physical, accept the psychic motives or aims, partake of the nature of the psychic, or follow its aims. साइकिक का अल्टीमेट एम क्या है? टू टेक द ह्यूमन लाइफ गॉडवर्ड. इन वन वर्ड इफ यू वांट टू से, दैट इज द एम ऑफ द साइकिक बीइंग, टू डिविनाइज लाइफ, to take the evolution towards the divine, or follow its aims, but with a modification in the manner which belongs to the mind, vital or physical. So, in the mental sense, it would be in the increase of truth and knowledge and light and all that. साइकिक के ही प्रभाव से हो रहा है, बट इन द माइंड इट विल be manifest in the form of seeking for light, knowledge, truth, etc., etc. Idealism. I said once कि Sri Aurobindo wrote in one letter to a person politics में थे, I am an idealist to the marrow. This kind of idealism is necessary for the integral yoga, for the complete transformation of the being. You cannot compromise कि चलता है या be practical in, वो उससे नहीं होता है. It has to be a thoroughgoing, absolutely uncompromising idealism कि I will transform every nook and corner of my being. Nothing within me should remain hidden from the divine light, from the light of the mother. Right? Partake of the nature of the psychic, follow its aims, but with a modification in the manner it belongs to the mind, vital or physical. Similarly, vital के अंदर it will be power, but power in the true sense, एक energetically चीजों को manifest करना. या vital के जैसे 3 levels होते हैं, तो according to the level of the vital. Heart के level पे अगर vital को देखेंगे तो in the finer emotions, in the form of bhakti, which you will feel in the vital, right? Or physical. मैंने पहले ही cover किया उसका, in the things of beauty and harmony, harmony in proportions, all basically which characterizes beauty on the physical plane. The psychic vital seeks after the divine, but it has a demand in its self-giving. The psychic vital, that part of the vital which is under the influence of the psychic. अगेन मतलब जैसे लास्ट टाइम ये बात हुई थी, एक फ्रेज आया था उसमें जो उसके पहले नहीं आया था. व्हाट वाज इट? कुछ था उसमें which was a new thing. Yogesh ji had pointed it out. So similarly, here now he is talking specifically about the psychic mental, psychic vital, psychic vital. ये phraseology इसके पहले we have not encountered, right? Justification for continuing to read this section till the end, right? So the psychic vital seeks after the divine, but it has a demand in its self-giving. मुझे बदले में ये मिलेगा तो मैं ये दूंगा. दिस इज द नेचर ऑफ द वाइटल, डिमांड करना, डिजायर, वाइटल ईगरनेस. द साइकिक हैज नॉट. जो प्योर साइकिक है उसके अंदर ये सब नहीं होता. उसके अंदर सेल्फ गिविंग होती है, उसके अंदर डिजायर नहीं होती, उसके अंदर eagerness is replaced by a calmness. There is a stability. There will be enthusiasm, but there will not be this eagerness. वो मतलब eagerness इस सेंस में कि restlessness टाइप का वो नहीं होगा, कोई disturbance नहीं होगा नेचर में. It will be perfectly calm, right? So the psychic vital seeks after the divine, but it has a demand in its self-giving desire. Vital eagerness the psychic has not. For the psychic has instead, what are the characteristics of the psychic? Pure self-giving. There is no reason why I give myself to the divine. There is no reason. He is He and I am I. I am His. I am His eternal portion. I have come to the world for Him. The whole world is for Him. It is for His delight. And therefore, there is no even question of self-giving that way. It's automatic. बट फिर भी चलो उस लेवल पे वो तो फिर सिद्धि की बात हो रही है. प्योर सेल्फ गिविंग. There is no demand in it. You simply give yourself. Again, in everything, there is a process. So it is first we will go through the stage of psychic vital, but then it will convert, it will change into the pure psychic. उसी को psychic realization बोलते हैं. When there is no demand, no desire, no restlessness left in the being. This is the difference between, on the way and having attained some realization. For the psychic has instead pure सेल्फ गिविंग. इसको प्रॉब्ली संस्कृत में कहेंगे आत्मनिवेदन. प्योर सेल्फ गिविंग एस्पिरेशन फॉर द हायर लाइट. इंटेंसिटी ऑफ साइकिक फायर. The psychic vital is subject to pain and suffering, which there is not in the psychic. This might be a typo, I'll have to check. This could be old style English also, but it's basically the same thing. The psychic vital is subject to pain and suffering, which is not there in the psychic.
But that is the same kind of a sentence even in the next.
हाँ वो आ रहा है उस पे. He'll say it's like a sorrow, akin to sadness. It is as if sad. Psychic sorrow word जब पहले भी आया था ना, तो हमने कहा था कि वो आगे आएगा. We'll come to it in the subsequent section. तो we'll read that, तब वो clear हो जाएगी चीज कि what
No,
is
no, I
it.
meant the old English comes again in the next one.
अच्छा, it is there. It is there.
हाँ,
I
हाँ,
didn't remember. Then that means that there is no typo or anything. It is like
हाँ,
that.
हाँ.
It is old English, which there is not in the psychic. And Sri Aurobindo was fundamentally a poet.
I
So,
was just going to say it's very
yeah,
poetic.
it's very poetic. So, and he was a born poet, and he said, first and foremost, he was a poet actually. Politician और बाकी जो scholar वॉलर ये सब बात का था. First and foremost, he was a poet.
So, Anmol,
Yeah.
in what we read just now, what really he's showing a contrast that when you look at the purity of the psychic, when there isn't that element of the vital at all, then it is complete giving, right?
Yes.
It's pure self-giving.
Yes.
Now, if you look at it, if we were in the presence of somebody who's achieved that state, he sees no difference in himself as an individual, but anybody coming to him, he would be thinking that it is himself, it is that one universal entity which is coming, and he would fulfill the person to whatever help or assistance that can be provided, because he sees no difference between himself and the other.
Yeah.
This is where it's giving the contrast. Whereas till now, if there is still that element of the vital, there is always that there is still a individual experience that is expected for the self.
Yeah.
So the contrast here is that when you evolve to this state, there is no identity of, whereas what we read, if you remember, and you were referring to what is it that we read which came for the first time,
Yes.
it says that this is a separate center in that universal center. I'll read out what we had read. It said, through this realization, silence, freedom, wideness, mastery, purity, a sense of universality in the individual as one center of this divine universality becomes the normal experience. So he himself this is what we said, that there is that one center of that universality, which is the individual existence, but it is one center of this oneness, right?
Yeah.
So the
Correct.
fact that so look at it in this, that if somebody is going through an intense suffering, we started the call of saying that there is somebody who's, because he's, you are family, you feel the pain, and you say, look, this is my family, I'm going through this pain, and you say, as that center of that universality, my Lord, heal, give us that, right? So it is no different from another person who could be a complete stranger who knocks your door and is going through that same suffering, and you should feel equally for the same.
Yeah.
So the fact that you are a center, why is it saying that that has no significance and you should not be? So here it's, on one hand, it starts by saying that that individual is one center of this universality, but here it comes and says that there isn't that concept of the center. You are not, in what we are reading right now, it just brings in the universality, saying that you should not have that focus on the center. So it's
नहीं, यहाँ
in
पे
some
फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल जो बात हो रही है, इट्स नॉट अबाउट रिलेशन बिटवीन टू सोल्स. ओके, इट्स नॉट अबाउट, अभी यहाँ पे जो बात हो रही है, इट इज द एटीट्यूड विच द साइकिक बीइंग इज हैविंग टुवर्ड्स द डिवाइन. एंड उसके भी मतलब अलग अलग एस्पेक्ट्स होते हैं. सो वन एस्पेक्ट इज यू थिंक ऑफ द ट्रांसेंडेंट डिवाइन, द सुप्रीम डिवाइन, एंड that is one. Second is you think of the divine within everybody, right?
right,
हाँ,
right,
तो यहाँ पे primarily what he is talking about is the वो divine एक ही है. It's not that the divine within you is different from the transcendent divine. It is the same divine in two different but yet simultaneous poises. वो simultaneously transcend भी करता है सबको, and at the same moment he is within you also. This also needs to be remembered. तो बट यहाँ पे वो essentially, I mean, what to say in this, जो की है वो बस यही नोट करने की है कि द डिफरेंस बिटवीन द वाइटल एंड द साइकिक नेचर. अब इसमें जैसे सेल्फ गिविंग वाली बात है, ठीक है, तो नेचुरली ईश्वर को सेल्फ गिविंग करना मे बी डिफिकल्ट, दैट वे, बिकॉज यू कैन नॉट सी हिम दिस वे. यू कैन प्रैक्टिस दैट सेल्फ गिविंग टू अ ह्यूमन बीइंग, बट देन you have to be able to have the faith that it is the divine in the form of this human being. And again, उसमें भी
right,
there is a mixture. आप किसी को पूर्ण भगवान मान के आप सेल्फ गिविंग करो, सी इफ योर सरेंडर इज परफेक्ट, तो मे बी आपके बिहेवियर से वो व्यक्ति चेंज हो जाएगा. बट देन अगेन यू माइट ऑल्सो गेट डिसअपॉइंटेड एंड डिसइल्यूजनड ऑल्सो. वो दोनों बातें हैं.
right.
तो
I think the word demand here means
हाँ,
that it's a condition,
but
whereas when it's
but
a humble,
essentially, yes, but I'm sorry, I'll just complete and then you say. But essentially, what
you
is
put in
becoming
like a
clear
plea,
is,
एक अर्जी डाल रहे हैं, but demand नहीं कर रहे. Maybe that's
exactly,
what they're trying to
हाँ,
contrast.
हाँ, डिमांड की जगह डिमांड इज बीइंग रिप्लेस्ड बाय सेल्फ गिविंग. आई एम नॉट आस्किंग एनीथिंग. I am not thinking what I can get from this person or get from the universe or get from the divine. My thinking has changed and now I am thinking मेरे अंदर क्या गुण है या क्या कैपेसिटी है, what can I give? And if everybody starts thinking in this way, the whole world will be transformed.
True.
It's just a change of attitude.
Got
One
it.
of our
Thanks.
teachers in Sanskrit, Sampadanand Mishra Ji, at least one of the greatest things that I have learned from his courses and classes and everything is just this difference within yourself. कि just आप ये सोचना शुरू कर दो, how can I give? मैं दूं कैसे? How can I give better and better? This is a
Right.
huge change. And human selfishness, human ego, etc., they do not allow it to happen, but it is a huge change. So,
Very well put. It makes it clear. Thanks.
Anjali ji
The
was saying something. Huh, please, Anjali.
Yeah, this para Yogesh is about the psychicization of the mental, the vital, and the physical. It's basically talking of the levels of psychicization. कि जब psychicization हो जाता है of the vital, तो ये होता है धीरे धीरे होता है. It starts from a demand in self-giving, but the psychic does not have any demand. So they're talking of the lowest psychicization and the highest. It is that the gradation of psychicization. That's basically what this para is about.
Yes.
how much
Absolutely. Makes complete sense.
the
Yeah.
psychic has been able to influence the vital, the mental,
Yes.
and the physical.
Yes.
वो दिखा रहे हैं, they're showing the different stages.
Yes. And again, the word process and procedure. So it is not that overnight the vital will change from demand to self-giving. One has to be patient. It's a long, drawn out process. Lifetimes का है. And psychicization is just the first step. फिर उसके बाद श्री अरविंदो और हायर चीज़ों की बातें करेंगे, फिर और हायर चीज़ों की बातें करेंगे. तो आई मीन आप अगर लेटर्स ऑन योगा पढ़े, वेरी वेरी क्लियरली यू फील कि एटलीस्ट अगले 10 लाइफ टाइम्स का प्लान उन्होंने दे रखा है. यू नीड नॉट वरी एट ऑल. इवन 10 इज लाइक अ स्मॉल फिगर. अगले 20 जन्म का आपको क्या करना है, पूरा योगिक प्रोग्राम ही हैज चार्टेड आउट इन द लेटर्स ऑन योगा. इट्स जस्ट अनबिलीवेबल, राइट? ठीक है, शैल वी कंटिन्यू?
Yeah.
ओके. आत्मा is not the same as psychic. Atma is the self, which is one in all. Calm, wide, ever at peace, always free. ये उसका जो फ्रीडम है, there is a word in English, inalienable. Inalienable means something which cannot be taken away. So that inalienable freedom of the self, ever at peace. This is that, great realization mentioned at the end of the second chapter of the Gita, जिसको ब्राह्मी स्थिति बोलते हैं. उसमें एषा ब्राह्मी स्थितिः पार्थ नैनाम प्राप्य विमुह्यति. Maybe the last verse of the second chapter. Having attained to this condition of the Brahman, you do not get deluded. Sthitva syamantakaalepi brahma nirvanam pritchate. Gita talks about liberation at the time of leaving the body, liberation from rebirth, etc. etc. गीता के अंदर ये refrain है, मतलब पूरा उसमें throughout है, which is one of the gaps in the Gita in the sense of the complete meaning of human life, जिसको श्री अरविंदो cover करते हैं in his writings, right? So just once more I'll leave this sentence, very powerful and beautiful sentence. Atma is the self which is one in all. This is that thing which is the same in each of us. वो ईशा उपनिषद के जो 6 और 7 वर्सेस हैं, उसके सेल्फ के तीनों एस्पेक्ट्स, काम, वाइड, एवर एट पीस, ऑलवेज फ्री, नित्य मुक्त. इसी को उपनिषद में कहते हैं शाश्वती शांति. कठोपनिषद में ये फ्रेज आता है, द इटर्नल पीस विच कैन नॉट बी टेकन. और ज्यादा मल्टीप्लाई नहीं करूंगा. जस्ट विवेकानंदा इन वन ऑफ हिज लास्ट लेटर्स कॉल्स इट आई एम एंटरिंग द पीस दैट पासेथ अंडरस्टैंडिंग. वो एक बिब्लिकल फ्रेज है. This is one of the goals of yoga, to attain to this perfect peace, perfect freedom.
Anmol, back to
Yes.
the point, if we conceptually, even if we don't have the experience as of now, but if we just take this as a reality, that your attention should always be on that oneness, which is a reality, which is not distributed, which isn't separate individuals. It is that oneness, which is what the Isha talks about. Then automatically everything else follows.
Yes.
The reason we are caught and we talk about the mental, vital, and whatever, because we are conditioned to believe that we are separate as the mind body complex, right?
Exactly.
Anybody who who takes the beloved as like a Meera or a Kabir, who says, Bhagwan, aap hi hai, it's one. Then there's no disconnect, because you are not looking at a separate entity. You're not looking at a breakaway. It's that one all the time. So whatever it is, it's him.
Yes.
So, if you just, it comes down to, we talk about multiple lifetimes, but the other simplicity is for all these simple saints who didn't have all of this, they just put their devotion saying, Bhai hai hi ek. And look where they all reached in one
No,
lifetime.
but in
A
that,
Kabir or a
that
Meera,
devotion
and
which
all
they,
of them just
correct,
achieved this reality.
correct. But that devotion which they manifested in that birth, वो devotion के लिए previous lives में क्या preparation था वो हमको नहीं पता ना. They all must have gone through a good deal of tapas and jnana yoga or whatever. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Correct, correct.
तो हाँ,
Agreed.
they are born, वो उस लाइफ में उनका रियलाइजेशन पहले से ही निश्चित है. These beings are of that level, basically, the ones whom we are talking about. Not to
Right.
say that we are, disqualified from it or anything like that. I mean, all yogas, all gurus say, कि I insist on realization in this life. Make the necessary effort, increase your intensity of effort, give yourself unreservedly. This everybody says is a secret. जिस दिन हमको अपने आप को अनरिजर्वेडली बिना कुछ बदले में मांगे सरेंडर करना आ गया, योग हो गया भैया, और कुछ नहीं है योग. योग का मतलब ही यही है. तो एवरीबडी सेज दिस कि अगर आप अपने आप को दे सकते हैं तो देयर एंड देन यू विल हैव द एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ द डिवाइन. आई विल शेयर समथिंग वेरी ब्यूटिफुल बाय द मदर एट द एंड ऑफ द क्लास. वेरी वेरी ब्यूटिफुल, वेरी वेरी ब्यूटिफुल. थ्री स्टेप्स ऐसे करके मदर बताती है. ठीक है. द साइकिक बीइंग इज द सोल विद इन that experiences life and develops with evolving mind and life and body. There is no idea that we have not encountered earlier. The psychic does not suffer like the vital or body. ये important है. There is something within us which is free from suffering. The psychic is within us. वो कहीं ऊपर या बाहर नहीं है, वो हमारे अंदर है. हमारे अंदर एक ऐसी चीज है. आत्मन तो ऊपर है, फ्री एंड अनटच्ड, बट वही आत्मन जो है वो साइकिक बन गया है व्हेन इट हैज कम इनटू अस. मर्त्येषु अमृतम जिसको बोलते हैं वेद में, द इमॉर्टल इन मॉर्टल्स. राइट.
I have,
यस अंजलि जी.
sorry, I have to go. There's an emergency.
No problem. No problem.
Sorry.
No problem. No problem. The psychic does not suffer like the vital or body. It has not pain or anguish or despair. हम्म. इसके लिए संस्कृत वर्ड्स क्या होंगे? दुख पेन के लिए, डिस्पेयर के लिए होगा निराशा, एंग्विश के लिए प्रॉब्ली होगा, I'm not able to find. Vishad is depression. It doesn't matter. The psychic does not suffer like the vital or body. It does not suffer. It's important to know this, मतलब inner psychological point, कि हमारे अंदर एक ऐसी चीज है जो सफर नहीं करती. वो सफरिंग के ऊपर है. ठीक है. It has not pain or anguish or despair, but what does it have? It has a psychic sorrow, which is different from these things. So the psychic sorrow is not that पेन का जो पैंग होता है और एंग्विश और डिस्पेयर जो इतनी जोर का डंक जैसा लगता है. इट इज नॉट दैट. Psychic sorrow is not that. A psychic sorrow which is different from these things. What is the psychic sorrow? It has, what is its characteristic nature, etc. It has a kind of quiet, sweet sadness of yearning. Why is the world the way it is? Why are things not more ideal? Why is there so much? All that we feel, I mean, at that level of the heart, at the deeper level of the heart. It has a kind of quiet, sweet sadness of yearning, which it feels when things go against the divine. यही मैंने लास्ट टाइम कहा था. There is a battle going on in the world forever, since forever, that देवासुर संग्राम जिसको बोलते हैं. And things go against the divine. And there are divine forces at work to make sure that things go as the divine has wanted. And there are adverse forces which are against the divine. So one has to become the instrument of the divine forces and take sides, choose the side consciously with those forces. इस अब कई बार क्वेश्चन उठता, भाई डिवाइन तो omnipotent है, सब कुछ है, तो फिर ये क्यों? ये उन्होंने ये प्ले खुद अलाउ किया है. This is the nature of the play right now. This freedom is given to the adverse forces to play their part and to the divine forces to play their part. We have to choose to become instrument of the divine forces. ठीक है? A kind of quiet, sweet sadness of yearning which it feels when things go against the divine. When the obscurity and obstacles are too heavy when the mind, vital, and physical follow after other things, when evil and falsehood and darkness seem to be too strong for the light. This he's right now, he's talking about the individual level, जो हमें अपने भीतर फील होता है. Despite the soul knowing what is right and what should be done and what should not be, etc., sometimes the vital is too strong, the desires are too strong. वो एक फ्रेज महाभारत का एक श्लोक है, वो कोट होता है, दुर्योधन के नाम से कोट होता है, तो मस्ट बी हिज नेम. जानामि धर्मम न च मे प्रवृत्ति. आई नो व्हाट इज धर्म, बट मेरी उसमें प्रवृत्ति नहीं है. जानामि अधर्मम, वो संधि में जानाम्य धर्मम हो जाता है. न च मे निवृत्ति, लेकिन मैं उससे निवृत्त नहीं हो पाता अधर्म से. त्वया हृषीकेश हृदय स्थितेन यथा नियुक्तोस्मि तथा करोमि. As you, O divine, seated in my heart, appoint me, so do I act. So that's why I find it difficult to believe कि it's from the mouth of Duryodhana. But doesn't matter. What matters is the meaning of the shloka and the helplessness that is uh, spoken of in that. मैं जानता हूं कि क्या सही है. इसका एक लैटिन फ्रेज भी है. I'll try to find that out. Sri Aurobindo quotes that in his letters. 4-5 words. Melia sequatur ऐसे करके कोई फ्रेज है like that. So, जानामि धर्मम न च मे प्रवृत्ति, जानामि अधर्मम न च मे निवृत्ति. और फिर वो उस तरह का फेक सरेंडर, त्वया हृषिकेश हृदय स्थितेन यथा नियुक्तोस्मि तथा करोमि. तुम जो मेरे अंदर बैठे हुए जैसे तुम करा रहे हो मैं कर रहा हूं. अरे कहाँ कर रहा है भाई? जब तू जानता है कि धर्म क्या है तो उसमें प्रवृत्त तो हो ना. ऋषिकेश वो चाहते हैं. ऋषिकेश ये नहीं चाहते कि मतलब बस ये सोच करके कि हाँ भगवान को सरेंडर कर दिया, जो भगवान करा रहे हैं मैं कर रहा हूँ. दैट विल इंक्रीज द तमस इन द बीइंग, इंक्रीज द कंफ्यूजन इन द बीइंग. एनीवे, आगे बढ़ता हूँ इस पॉइंट से. फ्रॉम दिस सेंटेंस, इट डज नॉट डिस्पेयर but feels that these things ought not to be, and the psychic yearning for it to be otherwise becomes so intense that it is felt as if something akin to sadness. Akin to sadness. It is not sadness because वो effect नहीं होता है. Psychic being does not suffer, as he said. But akin to sadness, वो इतनी intensity बढ़ जाती है उस पीड़ा की, psychic पीड़ा की, that yearning, that things should be better. Things should follow more of the divine plan. Why is there so much ignorance, darkness, disharmony, etc., etc., etc.? Why is there so much blind selfishness? Why is there so much, actually it's ultimately selfishness. I'll just finish this letter. As for the psychic not being in front, यही मैंने पहले बोला था, that cannot be brought about all at once. The other parts of the being must be prepared for the change, and the veil between must become thinner and thinner. Love and devotion rend the veil. ये हमने पहले भी रेफर किया था. As for the psychic being not in front, that cannot be brought about all at once. The other parts of the being must be prepared for the change. The other parts being the mind, vital, and physical. And the veil between must become thinner and thinner. That's why patience. Sri Aurobindo ने बोला है ये कि the older rishis, the ones of the Veda and the Vedantic period, they were dhira, they were very patient. So that's why they did not come to hasty conclusions like Mayavad and all, which the later philosophers have done. Maybe as the evolution proceeds, so things are expected to go faster. So maybe that brings in that level of impatience. perhaps, but nonetheless, it is impatience which causes one to stop short at this kind of universal formulas, this kind of pronouncements कि दुनिया ही मिथ्या है. नहीं नहीं है. If you look more patiently, you will discover. And the mother was asked, why are we on earth? Simple question. Why are we on earth? Mother's reply, to find the divine who is in each of us and in all things. Now, if you have found the divine in each of us and in all things, then where is the question of illusion or it not being real? It is the real divine who is manifesting as these things. Why are we on earth? To find the divine who is in each of us and in all things, even material things, मतलब नॉन लिविंग थिंग्स, उनके अंदर का भी जो दिव्यत्व है, द डिविनिटी. दिस इज द एम ऑफ ह्यूमन लाइफ, टू डिस्कवर द डिवाइन हाइडिंग बिहाइंड ऑल दीज अपीयरेंसेस. It is for that experiences come, and there is the working on the inner mind and vital and physical, as well as on the outer nature. That is for the coming of the psychic being in front. But इसमें again the reminder how Sri Aurobindo मतलब classifies the, if you could say, the horizontal dimension of the being. So there is the outer nature, there is the inner being, and there is the inmost being. Psychic is the inmost entity. So merely going 1 inch or a few centimeters, वो तो बोलने का तरीका है, deep within oneself is not to discover this. To discover that reality, that soul, one has to go right to the core, right to the very depths. सावित्री में आता है, the triple soul forces उसमें जो है, so वो उसमें मडोना वो जो 3 गुणों के ऊपर है basically. So the one of sorrow and tamas, basically she says I am that, no you are not that. Then the दुर्गा वाला जो I am रजस वाली, मैं वो हूँ नहीं तुम वो नहीं हो. फिर वो मडोना ऑफ लाइट आती है, सत्व गुण वाली, जिसको रफली मैप कर सकते हो, नहीं तुम भी वो नहीं हो. And then she passes beyond them, and then finally she finds her soul. Basically what I'm saying is कि if in meditation, through sadhana, dhyana, whatever we are going within, so one has to go deep, 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 deep within, where basically, I mean, you reach that point जिसके आगे और हम डेप्थ में नहीं जा सकते. You reach उसके लिए the best guide, as I said, is सावित्री. उसमें एकदम visual description है. The finding of the soul, that is the name of the chapter. Letters on yoga में भी है. The entry into the inner worlds and all that. ये letters on yoga में भी है. There are sections in the book. Right. Any questions on this? Slightly लंबा हो गया था monologue.
Anmol,
Yes, please.
when we heard the video which was done by Shraddhalu Ranade ji, and he talked about this place which is above the head,
अच्छा.
right?
Hmm.
And the fact is that he says that all the, everything evolves to that reality. And think about it, that as long as we are bound with our center of gravity of the energy being within the body, we'll always look at anything we've been discussing, it'll have the individual perspective.
Exactly.
But think about a space which is above the head, it's beyond the individual presence, right? So doesn't it correlate to this reality of oneness, which is what
Yes,
you
it
said,
does.
Mother says we
It
need to
correlates.
experience?
Yes, it does. It correlates with this Atman. जो वो above जब बोलते हैं, the Atman is the self above the evolution. So it
Right.
correlates with basically this aspect of the individual self.
Right. Right.
ये वाला जो है ना, वन एंड ऑल, काम, वाइड, एवर एट पीस, ऑलवेज फ्री, एटसेट्रा. बट इसका एवोल्यूशन के साथ जो कनेक्शन है, दैट इज थ्रू द साइकिक बीइंग. सो इफ यू टेंड टू फोकस जस्ट ऑन दैट, then you will have a tendency to ignore terrestrial life. You will have a tendency to go back into that thing which was forever free. तो वो जो forever free था, अगर उसने अपने आप को बांधा है, तो उसका भी तो कोई पर्पस है ना. वो अगले लेटर में श्री अरबिंदो आ रहे हैं, where he speaks of the supramental descent. तो perhaps when we read that we can try to cover that. But
Right.
this is why Sri Aurobindo says focus on the psychic. बिना साइकिक के टेरेस्ट्रियल एम्बॉडीमेंट का जो पर्पस है और जो फुलफिलमेंट मेंट है, बिना साइकिक की प्राप्ति के द टेरेस्ट्रियल फुलफिलमेंट cannot happen. You will not be able to fulfill the purpose of the terrestrial embodiment. Terrestrial means
Right.
earth. Yeah.
Right. Got it. Thanks.
Okay. Most welcome. Okay. What do you mean by a personal vital? What people call personality is a formation. There is no unchangeable vital personality. It keeps changing. There is a presence called the Purusha, something projected by the self or Atman, which supports on each plane the formation of the personalities on that plane. By Manomaya Purusha, Pranamaya Purusha, etc. But the Purusha is not a personality and it has no name or form in that sense. The name and form is of the personality. I'll just read this once more. What people call personality is a formation. There is no unchangeable vital personality. There is a presence called the Purusha, something projected by the self or Atman, which supports on each plane the formation of the personalities on that plane. But the Purusha is not a personality and it has no name or form. But it is best for you not to speculate too much about these subtle things at present. You have not sufficient experience to grasp correctly the complexity of the truth. Again, which brings me to the most important and fundamental point कि we are reading about these subtle things and we are getting some idea about them, some clarity, etc. etc. But जब तक ये सब अनुभव की चीजें हैं, अनुभूति की चीजें हैं, unless we experience these things, तो after a certain point, all this intellectual and mental knowledge can even start feeling like a burden. Basically, the sadhana has to be intensified so that we can arrive at a experience. We can arrive at experience of these things, not just a experience, but इन सारी चीजों का जो हम पढ़ रहे हैं वही बिना अनुभव के न तत्र वाग गच्छति जो उपनिषद कहता है कि their speech travels not. So speech की limitations are Sri Aurobindo has actually thinned down the limitations of speech to the maximum possible done in human history to be able to connect spiritual consciousness and जिसको वो supramental consciousness कहते हैं to human language and to express those higher states of consciousness etc. in human language. This is unprecedented. The level and extent of depth to which Sri Aurobindo has done it, it has not been done before. It has not been done. So that is his great, great gift. And when we read him, we can get some glimpse of it. But फिर वही है कि आप अगर केवल glimpse से satisfied है तो ठीक है. The aim is to get to the experience. This is what he's saying here. Very, very practical point. This he's writing to a disciple, as I said. Letters on your yoga were not written for lay people. These are written for people who have dedicated their entire life to the guru and the yoga. ये उन लोगों को लिखे गए, राइट? वेदर घर में रह रहा है, हाउस होल्डर है, आश्रम में है या बाहर है, डजेंट मैटर. ही हैज बीन एक्सेप्टेड एज अ डिसाइपल बाय श्री अरबिंदो एंड मदर एंड मतलब इट इज टेकन फॉर ग्रांटेड दैट हिज इनर बीइंग हैज फुल्ली सरेंडर्ड. वो उनका हो चुका है. ही इज नथिंग लेफ्ट ऑफ हिज ओन एनी मोर. So there is a great, intensity and उसमें greater compassion and purpose, etc. in these letters. Not saying that they are not there in the general writings, they're all there, but letters on yoga is very, very special, very, very special. Okay, I'll not belabor this point more. I'll move forward. The one thing you are concerned with is that you have a soul. The one thing you are concerned with is that you have a soul, a psychic being, which stands for your center of existence, a part of the divine. ये असली बात है. उसको ढूंढने की, उसको महसूस करने की, and when you hear it, when you hear its voice and its promptings, to listen to them religiously and follow them faithfully so that it can become stronger and come forward, as he said. Right? Become aware of that. यही वो बोल रहे हैं. Become aware of that soul, that psychic being, that part of the divine within you. ठीक है? I like this very much, the Vedic phrase, Martyeshu Amritam. Martyeshu matlab in the mortals. Saptami Bahuvachan. Amritam माने immortal. The immortal in mortals. ये डेथ का जो भाड़ में क्या कुछ नहीं है. There is no such thing as death. That immortal is dwelling within me. I am that. You know the beginning of the Gita 2.12. There was never a time when I was not there, or you were not there, or these kings of men were not there. And there will never be a time when I will not be, or you will not be, or these kings of men will not. तुम हमेशा थे, तुम हमेशा रहोगे. उस तत्व को अपने अंदर महसूस करना, फील करना, अनुभव करना. Become aware of that and put all your mental, vital, and physical nature in relation to it. Build that connection. This is what is called building the inner life. Sri Aurobindo says that one protects one's inner life like a fortress. एक आप वो fortress अपने अंदर create करते हैं, and none of the shocks and all these bad things and ugly things of the world can breach that fortress. He uses such language. Become aware of that and put all your mental, vital, and physical nature in relation to it, in order that they may become purified, harmonized, divinized. When we say divinized, basically it comes from the Div Dhatu of Sanskrit. उसके 5 मीनिंग होते हैं, but 2 of the main meanings are the sense of light and the sense of play. So devas are described as those जो प्रकाश में, जो light में क्रीड़ा करते हैं, right? So when we are full of that light of consciousness within us, and that delight of existence, and that sense of everything being a play of consciousness, that is the state of divinity. So when the nature is divinized in this manner, when this is there in the mind, in our thoughts, in our conceptions, our ideas of things, when we start linking everything to the idea of Satchidananda and to the idea of the underlying self, that is like the, beginning of this transformation of the mind. Similarly for the vital, similarly for the physical. जो फिजिकली डिविनाइज हो जाते हैं, उनकी बॉडी के अंदर से एक लाइट निकलने लगती है. श्री रामकृष्णा की द ग्रेट, मतलब इज एन अवतार अकॉर्डिंग टू श्री अरबिंदो. So, there was a phase in his life and उनकी बॉडी से इतनी लाइट निकलती थी, he had to cover himself with blankets to avoid being, attracting attention. I've read this even. मैंने पढ़ा है, I remember this. Sri Rama the Great Master by Swami Shardananda. तो imagine क्या beauty होगी, when that divine light starts radiating through your body. Sri Aurobindo, when he left his body for 111 hours, this golden light was like bursting from his body. It was even reported in the newspapers. People were flying from everywhere in India to catch a glimpse of that. It's not exaggeration. मेरे पास वो न्यूज़पेपर की रिपोर्ट तक है. I have a cutting, ऐसी ये cutting है मेरे पास, किसी ने दी है मुझे. Okay, just to come back, 8:59 or so, ठीक है. Purified, harmonized, divinized. हाँ, अब ये जो last चीज वो बोलते हैं, sorry, the supramental being and nature. I'll actually just beginning from the पढ़ देता हूँ उसको, थोड़ा सा वो हो गया. Become aware of that, the psychic being, and put all your mental, vital, and physical nature in relation to it. This is like an adesh from Sri Aurobindo. This is how it should be taken. Become aware of that and put all your mental, vital, and physical nature in relation to it, to that soul, in order that they may become purified, harmonized, divinized, and the supramental being and nature may descend and be manifested in you. For until this is done, this conscious linking and relation with the psychic center, there can be no supramental descent. Now, here in the whatever 4 or 5 minutes remaining, I should try to explain the supramental, what he means and why he uses this word, etc. Basically, Sri Aurobindo says that the super mind is the true creator of this world. ठीक है? But when it did creation, it did not do it directly. It did it through an intermediary which Sri Aurobindo calls overmind. And this overmind is the plane of all the gods. Krishna, Shiva, all even the greatest gods known to our Hindu religion, they belong to the plane of the overmind, right? So, but because it is the creator, Life Divine में there is a chapter in the book part in the book one, the supermind as creator, I think chapter 14. ठीक है? तो जो creator है, until and unless its energy starts working in the creation actively, consciously, how will the transformation happen? So this is the very, very simple rationale that supermind is the real creator, and it is only when that real creator starts working uh, that the purpose of this terrestrial creation can be fulfilled. और वो यहाँ पे वो तो चलो एक फाइनल अचीवमेंट है. फर्स्ट चीज जो उसके लिए करना है, विच ही इज सेइंग हियर, व्हाट इज इट? कॉन्शियस लिंकिंग एंड रिलेशन with the psychic center. This is our first step in the yoga of Sri Aurobindo. और psychic का जो बता चुके हैं सारा का सारा. We have to actually read these things multiple times and ponder and but so clear, so clear. Just read this again. So that the supramental being and nature may descend and be manifested in you. For until this is done, what is this thing? This conscious linking and relation with the psychic center. Until this happens, there can be no supramental descent. This he says repeatedly in his letters. That's why वो जो ऊपर वाली चीज है उस पर उन्होंने emphasize उतना नहीं किया, वो second बोलते हैं. That he calls the spiritual transformation. But first transformation that he sees that has to be done is the psychic transformation. Life Divine में पूरा एक chapter है इसके ऊपर. It's called the triple transformation. Letters on Yoga में एक section है on the triple transformation. I think in part 3 of Letters on Yoga, volume 30 of CWSA. I'm sorry, थोड़ा सा
Anmol,
repetitive हो गया था. हाँ जी, please, yes.
this linking that you talked about, if you read, and I'll read out the section that we read the last time, which completely, the reason he's saying that we bring the vital and connect with that psychic entity within is because with this, the last statement, it ended by saying the ego is not a real and eternal existence, but only a formation of nature. So all these three things which are controlled by the ego, it says it has to disappear by the coming of knowledge and be replaced by the true psychic and spiritual self.
Yes. In
So
that
he's
he's
telling us
mentioning the spiritual self also. यहाँ
Right.
पे अभी वो spiritual self भी mention नहीं कर रहे हैं. That also he's breaking down into the bare and pure first step, which is simply the psychic जो है. Spiritual का अभी जो हमने आज जो लेटर पढ़ा था उसमें उन्होंने spiritual का भी बात नहीं किया है. तो वो
Right.
एकदम simplify करके the first step is the psychic. Replace the ego first by the psychic. That is what he's saying.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So of the three also, he's prioritizing the psychic. So therefore it
First
is
step.
the first step to
Prioritizing because it is the first अच्छा, by the way, I should say this. किसी का एक हायर ओपनिंग होता है इंस्टेड ऑफ द ओपनिंग ऑफ द हार्ट. सो वन शुड नॉट बी स्टूपिड कि अगर एक ओपनिंग मिल रही है इनटू द हायर कॉन्शियसनेस तो उसको स्टॉप करना और जबरदस्ती ऐसा करना, अंदर जाने की कोशिश करना, वो इट इज Sri Aurobindo डज नॉट रिकमेंड दैट. जो पहले, बट इट इज बेटर एंड इनएविटेबली इफ यू आर डूइंग द इंटेग्रल योगा तो आपको वो साइकिक डायमेंशन में एंटर करना ही पड़ेगा, इवन इफ द हायर डायमेंशन ओपन्स अप बिफोर हैंड. दैट्स व्हाट इट इज. But whichever is opening, one has to welcome it. But keeping in mind, I mean, what the Guru is saying, that it is through the coming forth of the psychic being that, that's the only way in which the fulfillment of this terrestrial embodiment can take place. Otherwise, uska purpose serve nahi hota. Why it has become, mind, life and body, soul ka wo purpose serve nahi hota. And again, इसमें an element of surrender is required to the Guru, because some of these things we do not understand completely. We have to take it for his word. वी फील अ सर्टेन फेथ इन हिम, एक श्रद्धा हमारे अंदर जागृत होती है, बट वो श्रद्धा भी दब सकती है अगर हम साधना नहीं करेंगे और हम एक्चुअली इन सब चीजों को केवल जस्ट एक काइंड ऑफ पास टाइम की तरह ट्रीट करें, या थोड़ा सा कुछ अच्छा फील गुड फैक्टर आया, इट्स नॉट सफिशिएंट. वन हैज टू डेडिकेट oneself more and make an intense effort to experience these things. Then you get more experience, and then the shraddha in the guru becomes stronger, and it becomes this thing faster. But basically what I'm trying to say is that many things which we don't understand, we have to take it by the word of the guru. Integral yoga mein aisa bahut kuch hai, because it such far fetched things which nobody even dreamt about. Forget about realizing. Sri Aurobindo has mentioned that they are printed in his books. Now what do you do, man? आप मानो या ना मानो, आपके ऊपर है. It's like that. So faith is extremely, extremely necessary.
Right, right. Makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Anybody else? Most of the other people have been very quiet today. Hmm. ठीक है. We'll close with silence for half a minute.
Yes.
Okay.